Welcome back. I'm going to talk tonight about the quiet war that's being waged on rural America. There's a strange feeling a lot of people in rural America have right now. You can feel it at the gas station. You can feel it in small towns. You can feel it when you go hunting, and you can definitely feel it online. It's the feeling that people are making the rules, don't understand the people living the life. Let me say it again. It's the feeling that the people that are making the rules don't understand the people living the life. And maybe worse than that, I don't even think they want to understand. Tonight's podcast, I'm going to get up on my soapbox. I'm not really talking about dogs tonight. I'm not talking about dogs being shot. I'm talking about something bigger, something way bigger than that. It's the slow disconnect between modern America and the people who still live close to the land. The hunters, the fishermen, the farmers, the houndsmen, the people who still know how to fix a fence, skin a deer, grow food, run a train saw, or survive when the power goes out. Because when whether people realize it or not, there's a quiet culture war happening right now, and most people are too distracted to even notice. Let's see. And when I said about run a chainsaw, there's people that make a living cutting trees, and there's people that make a living putting up fences and stuff. But there's a bunch of us out here that's not our job, but we still know how to do these things because it's pretty much a requirement. If you live out in the country, you got to be able to clean up the tree when it falls out on the property, and you've got to be able to do things. And rural America didn't just accidentally happen. This country was built by people who understood the land, people who hunted because it fed the family. A lot of people still feed their family hunting. I got a whole bunch of deer burger in the freezer right now. I won't buy any hamburger this year. I've got plenty of ground burger. People who farmed because survival depended on it. I'm gonna plant a garden too. People who understood seasons, weather, droughts, animals, rivers, timber, and hard work. That knowledge wasn't learned on TikTok. No, sir. It was learned from fathers, grandfathers, neighbors, churches, community, and experience. And for generations, outdoor traditions have become more than hobbies. They've become culture, identity, heritage. And that's why hunting dogs matter so much to people. People who've never owned one sometimes don't understand that. A hound's not a tool. A good dog becomes family. A hunting club becomes family. And tell you a story about hunting club that I was a member of. Back back around the turn of the century, here in eastern North Carolina, we had what they called the flood of the century. Eastern North Carolina flooded. And when I say eastern North Carolina flooded, I mean everything flooded. Well, it was 2 or 3 days before the government was in the area helping people and rescuing people. But the hunting club that I was a member of, as soon as the sun came up, they had John boats in the water and they were going and rescuing people from their flooded homes. And they ran rescue operations for 2 or 3 days before the government showed up. That's that's how rural people handle things. That's how where I grew up, that's how we do things. And those traditions tie generations together. And once those traditions disappear, they don't come back easily. And this is a little bit about the modern disconnect. The modern world is becoming increasingly disconnected from where life actually comes from. Most people today have no idea where their food comes from. Absolutely no idea. It comes from the grocery store, is what they know. They've never cleaned a fish. They've never planted a garden. They've never processed an animal. Never repaired any equipment because failure meant somebody didn't eat. Now you think about that. If the sausage press broke, you got to fix it because you still got to make the sausage, right? And because of that disconnect, a lot of people have developed opinions about rural life without understanding it. A lot of people think those of us that live out in the country is real stupid and don't know nothing, but well, I got the background up. You can't see it. I got a couple of college degrees hanging on the wall behind me. I'm fairly well educated for a country boy. They see hunting through Hollywood. They see social media clips. They see emotional activism. And when people stop understanding something, they become easier to manipulate. And when emotion's all about it, they're real easy to be led around. And that's where we are now. We're at the language game. One thing I've learned studying politics and legislation is that language matters. It matters a lot. The most dangerous laws don't arrive waving giant red flags. They arrive in reasonable sounding language. Animal welfare, public safety, environmental concern, modernization. And if you only read the title, you miss the details hidden underneath. We've seen this before with anti-hunting language slipped into larger legislation. Think about the farm bill they tried to sneak in recently. Hey, Anthony. We've seen it in local ordinances. We've seen it in social media policy. We've seen it in algorithm suppression. This page used to get 21 million views a month, and now it might get 2 or 3 million. It's just the content can change. The algorithm changes how it pushes it out. The strategy is usually the same, though. You don't attract traditions directly at first. You slowly isolate them. You restrict visibility. You take the algorithm and fix it where people can't see you. You restrict access. You restrict the land. You restrict participation and restrict culture. Something else they do is they get side A to argue with side one. Notice I didn't say side A and side B. Side A and side one. They get them to argue with each other until eventually the next generation never experiences any of it. And if a generation never experiences something, it becomes much easier to eliminate politically later. And that's why stories matter. Speaking of stories, Tri-City Beagle Boys, live action. Got my shirt on. Thanks, guys. This is one reason I started telling the stories. It's not just reporting cases. Stories matter because stories preserve culture. One day the trucks are going to rust, and the boots are going to wear out, and our old hounds are going to walk their last trail. But the stories will outlive all of us. Stories teach values. Respect the land, respect your neighbor, respect your dogs, and respect the harvest. Respect the responsibility that comes with freedom. That's what outdoor culture was always supposed to be about. Not arrogance, not recklessness, not social media clout, not what deer you got named on your trail camera. Is about responsibility. And that's why ethical hunters get so frustrated when the entire outdoor world judges by the worst examples online. Because most hunters I know are some of the most generous people you'll ever meet. They'll pull your truck out of the ditch, help find your lost dog, help you feed your family after a hurricane, spend their time and money, and use their boat to come pull you out of the floodwaters. I watched it done. I helped do it. But I watched it done over and over and over again when Eastern North Carolina flooded. And they'll do it quietly without posting about it online for attention. Social media has become the new town square. The internet changed outdoor culture forever. For the first time, small town hunters could have a voice. A regular guy with a phone could suddenly reach thousands of people, millions of people actually. And that terrified a lot of the gatekeepers because for years, outdoor media was controlled by a small number of companies, sponsors, and personalities. They owned that information and they could shape it ever how they wanted to. And then social media changed the game. Now regular people can tell their own stories. And honestly, that was one of the best things that ever happened to hunting culture. And it was also one of the worst things that ever happened. It brought things back down to earth. Real people, real camps, real dogs, real opinions. But now we're watching something shift again. Algorithms increasingly decide what people are allowed to see, and what outdoor content often gets quietly buried. Not banned. They still let you post it, and you'll still get a couple hundred views on it, but they suppress you to where nobody can see you. If it was outright banned, it makes people angry. They just quietly reduce it. They quietly hide it, and they quietly label it sensitive. The scary part is most people never even realize what's happening. One thing about rural America still has, modern society still desperately needs is community, real community, not followers, not likes, not parasocial internet relationships. Now, internet's interesting because I've met some people, I've done some podcasts, I've gone hunting with people that I would have never met in the real world. I've got people that I count among my friends now that are in West Virginia and Georgia, Arizona, all kinds of places, and here I am in Eastern North Carolina. So, but I mean, real people, neighbors and families, people that you can go walk over and talk to, people who actually show up for something goes wrong, like when the whole world seems like it flooded. That's why hunting clubs matter. That's why traditions matter, because sometimes the hunt isn't even about the hunt. It's about preserving the connection. It's about the fellowship. It's about the story. It's about the memories. It's about the passing down of knowledge. It's about a kid sitting beside an old hunter, listening to the stories around the fire barrel. They may be learning more about life than they realize. Patience, respect, discipline, and responsibility. Those lessons matter. So does humility. And honestly, modern society could probably use a little more of them. I'll tell you a quick story about when I was a child. So we were allowed to start training the dogs around September 15th. It was about a month before hunting season come in. And every year when we got close to that day, we couldn't wait to get down to the hunting club. We'd go down at night. It was still really hot during the day. So we go down at night and we'd run the dogs. I was too young to drive, so I'm riding there with my dad. So the guys had a race going, and they're all running out there with flashlights trying to see whose dog was first, and getting bragging rights on who had the first crossing and such. Well, when the guys ran off to do that, a couple of the other guys had caught a possum earlier that night in a trap, a live trap, and they had put one of Mr. Philip Tripp, one of his collars on that possum. So they all came back to the trucks after the crossing, and they were all talking about whose dog was first. And Mr. Tripp was saying that his dog was first. And my daddy said, "Well, Philip, there's no way your dog was first. Your dog's right here in the truck." And there was some back and forth and some banter, oh, I know good and well it was my dog, and yada, yada, yada. So anyway, make a long story short, that possum went to making noise in that dog box, and he went around there and shined the light up in there, and there was a possum wearing that dog collar. And everybody laughed about it. It was funny. It's one of those things that friends do with each other. So that's my hunting story. We're going to get on back here and talk about the future now. I don't think outdoor traditions disappear overnight. I think they disappear slowly, one regulation at a time, our cultural attack at a time, one generation at a time, and one distraction at a time, until one day people wake up and realize something important is gone. And by then, nobody remembers how to get it back. That's why people need to pay attention now, not just to hunting laws, but to culture itself, because culture is upstream from politics. Just because you don't take an interest in politics doesn't mean politics ain't going to take an interest in you. If people can conceive society that rural traditions are backwards, then eventually laws follow. And that's how this works. And that's why preserving stories, ethics, and traditions matter. And at the end of the day, this isn't really about left versus right. It never is. It's not about blue or red. It's not even about hunters versus non-hunters. And back about the politicians, all politicians are equally valuable and equally worthless. I don't care which team you're pulling for. Trust me on this. They're all equally valuable and they're all equally worthless. It's about whether America remembers the people who built it, the people that live close to the land, the people who still understand self-reliance, and the people who still believe freedom comes with responsibility, and whether those traditions will survive into the next generation. Because one day, the old men are going to be gone, the old dogs will be gone, the camps will go quiet, and all that'll remain is the stories that we chose to pass down. This has been Todd Edwards with TicBite NC. I'm doing a podcast tonight on the Don't Shoot Hunting Dogs channel. We're going to see how it goes. It'll be the first one that's ever been done there. So, what do you guys think? How do you think this needs to work out? Because if you forget where you came from, you're never going to know where you're going. And there's a whole bunch of people out there that have no idea where their next meal is going to come from. They just know they went to the grocery store and bought some food. Well, you think about it, and I'll catch you on the next one.